Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Later Than 8 titled BLAMESHIFTER. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube. This is not the first song that I have heard from Later Than 8, I do typically enjoy my time listening to their stuff, but we're going to listen through this track from start till finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. Interesting sound design there on the sides. Very tense. I thought we were going to go in a heavier direction, but that's kind of cool. Oh. There's an interesting phase of it. Great use of dynamic range there.
Never knew you like this. Won't you break free from the winds you spin? We turn the time to short what's real again. I search for something pure, left untouched by you. What makes you so perfect, baby? Never make a mistake. I'll watch you judge while you hurt with the actions that you take. Somewhere along the way, I take all the blame. I take all the blame. I take all you. Somewhere along the way, I take all the blame. I take all the blame. 'Cause you're the blame shifter.
Great use of vocal fry here, man. I mean, it's just a really cool texture. I didn't necessarily get the words through clearly, but I still appreciate the effort to put in something different here to sort of spice things up in an interlude section with a similar feel to some of the verse parts. Again, a little bit more sort of like intense, but That was cool. I think that was a really special track. There was a lot, genuinely, there was a lot to appreciate there. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Later Than 8 titled BLAMESHIFTER. What do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone who is looking at another who never takes responsibility. They're manipulative, toxic. Their decisions in the situation they're in is less than desirable, and they're really just looking at maybe the lies they tell of the behavior and just going, okay, like, I'm to blame because you're the blame shifter. Everything is my fault because you make it that way. And I think it kind of speaks of a toxic relationship with whoever it is, and I think it's stuff that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to when they listen to it as a listener. I'm sure people they know people like that who are just completely unflappable. They just cannot accept things as they are or how people say it, and they will continue to spin it around like a disc jockey, and it sucks. And it really messes you up. So I think it's an interesting subject matter. It's compelling. Clearly something that the musician involved is very passionate about. The growls and screams at the end in the interlude section were heavy and gritty, and I really appreciate that we had that adjustment there. I like the auto-tune in the verse sections and in the chorus parts. I feel like the more low-key halftime parts in the verse were a bit more gentle and sort of they seemed more sort of like sincere and down tempo, and it just kind of made you sort of like imagine like you were sitting hearing their story for a bit. And then sort of the memorandum that is reached within the chorus sections about, being to blame because they're the blame shifter, etc. And the chorus section where things are a bit more sort of intense with that heavier, kind of more sort of normal time-ish accommodation of the guitars, bass, and drums is just a great contrast to that. So I feel like we showed really solid vocal technique there. We had range and diversity here, which I appreciated, and it made it a really great listen. It suits the genre well. The melodies that we chose niche well with the other arrangements, with other parts of the arrangement, should I say. No complaints about the vocals. I think it's not the heaviness of that or that tuning of the voice is like a stylistic thing, and I kind of appreciate it. It's become more of a thing recently than it used to be, like when I got into metal in the mid 2000s, and I think nowadays they're making it their own kind of vibe, and it's great. The track at 4 minutes 47 with that extended intro there with the synths on the sides, they're just kind of rising in that uncertainty and that it sounds unsettled, and you kind of know you're going somewhere kind of interesting, or you got a sense of trepidation about it, and you're lulled into this sort of situation where it's like, if we go back a little bit and kind of you have those synth pads and those stabby basses and stuff, and it almost seems like it could just simply be an electronic track, and you're like, okay, so we're going for this kind of vibe now. Is it going to be more sort of a progressive adventure kind of thing synthetically? And then you have the guitars, bass, and drums come in with these wonderful power chordal kind of elements on the strings there, these ninth chords there, drop tunings, working really well. Maybe a parallel major for the root, and just any octaves or chords there in the mid to high ranges is just a fantastic niche on top of those lower chordal elements there. We're really pocketing with the guitars in a way that allows for a lot of range for the vocals to do their thing, which I really appreciate. And there's dynamic range to the performance there. It's not the same intensity with the rhythm or the lead playing there, or the sub lead playing. The bass line, with those little bomb 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 kind of parts, they're kind of instantiating a sense of the theme or motif of the track initially, but then with the electric bass kind of sitting underneath the rhythm guitars and those sort of chorus and verse and sort of interlude sections in a way which is very satisfying and fills in that part of the frequency spectrum. The drums, when they came in, you had a mix of sort of more acoustic elements like in the chorus and in the interlude sections with the double kick, cymbals, snares, etc., which I appreciate. But I think it's also the halftime trap elements for that is sort of like a bit of more contemporary hip-hop-ish kind of fusion to it. And it's a nice contrast stylistically there. It's fashionable, it sounds kind of dope, and it's not the same thing all the time. And again, that change between a normal and a halftime makes for a more intriguing listen. You feel like you're stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but the transfers are so smooth that it doesn't feel blunt when it does so. And I appreciate the fact that we had those double kicks in that position until interlude with the growls, because that heaviness, those things go together quite well. And I appreciate that. I think that the synths, again, the atmospheric parts there in the intro are really sort of there to set the scene and make it a bit more sort of majestic and grandiose. And I feel like for for the subject matter we're talking about, where it's a little bit sort of out of mindly or sort of ethereal or kind of like otherworldly, it kind of suits. Almost like you're crying in space to figure out just what the fuck's going on. You know, you're just so out of it because of what's occurred that it throws you out into the universe and expects you to breathe in space. I adore it. I think that it's a well-written piece there that obeys the fundamentals, doesn't sort of go too far out into the wop-wops, to the outskirts of the genre. It doesn't do too much experimental stuff because I think it appreciates what it's got inside of it, its own capabilities, and the combination of these elements, you know, resulting in that motif there, that kind of new metalish kind of mid-2000s kind of sort of scene idea with those sort of more sort of trappish kind of hip-hop elements included there in the breakdowns. You've just got a general kind of moodiness and angst that doesn't feel cheesy or disingenuous. The way that it's sung, the way the story's told, it's very much a specific kind of way of doing it where you are not being what's the word? Coaxed into it. That's right. You're not being coaxed into it. You're welcome to hear it. You know, you appreciate being able to hear it. And I think that the parallel major and the start of the chorus sections there works well with the melodies in it. And it's just those kind of awarenesses of the subtleties of adjusting a key or chord progression to suit that is smart. It shows a fundamental understanding of music theory and composition. And I feel like with, again, just to focus on the root notes there, kind of like things are kind of low down and kind of aggressive and intense, you get a feeling of that fury and frustration, even though we're trying to make it more pretty sounding or maybe more palatable with the mid to upper range of the melodies and textures. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is great. I like the sound of the vocals in the mix. I couldn't get all the words through clearly, but it's okay. I appreciated how they sounded. The guitars, bass, drums, the synth at the start with the kind of boom, 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 and kind of like sort of 808s or sort of atmospheric parts at the beginning on the sides were really cool. This felt like an experience. Things were nice and niched within the frequency spectrum with no weird resonant frequencies. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field. The music surrounded you and things were well done, like the double tracking of the guitars and all that kind of stuff. I enjoyed the boom, 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 how that kind of flittered around the stereo field. I thought that was great. There was dynamic range, there was automation of the synth at the start, which kind of made it seem a bit more sort of dramatic and cinematic. And it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And effectively, that's just my review of this track from an act named Later Than 8, titled BLAMESHIFTER, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.